I'm losing my mind. I am old. Well, kinda. But when I think back to whenever I was playing video games almost every day and didn't have a day job or an apartment or responsibilities, I feel old. I was going to say in comparison to most YouTubers, I'm old, but apparently the average age of the YouTuber is 40, so kinda early middle-aged, we'll say. I'm close. I really only started doom scrolling on TikTok, and 30 seconds into the video, shameless self-promotion. And my For You page has been flooded with runs of SSX Tricky and Frutiger Arrow aesthetic. If you've never heard the term before, if you grew up in the early 2000s and have memories of that, or if you've goofed around on Windows XP wallpapers or screensavers, you know exactly what the aesthetic is. A lot of round edges and a lot of chrome. And the tagline a lot of people will give it is the future that we were promised but never got. While I was browsing that aesthetic, I went on a massive nostalgia trip. And in those early times, oh God. In that time period, I was a preteen, I was close to a preteen. And that's when I started heavily playing video games. Thinking back on the games that I had played back then, I didn't play many full games. A lot of the games that I was playing were in short form on demo discs. Now, I bet, well, what's my demographic? According to my YouTube analytics, 54.4% of you were only born in the year 2000 or later. So you don't really have that many memories, at least in that specific time, about demo discs. A lot of you probably don't even know what those are. So let me give you a quick explanation. Welcome to Demo Discs 101. I'm your Professor Dumbass, and here I am to give you a quick explanation of how demo discs work. I have my contacts in and my glasses on, and I have dog shit vision, so I might look high, I might look tired, or a mixture of the both. I don't want to hear it. Let's talk about demo discs. Oh God, I gotta sneeze. Demo discs can be traced as early as the early 90s, I believe. I'm reading from a Wikipedia basically right now. And demo discs even existed before the CD-ROM. Demos were also found on floppy disks. And if you're anywhere, and if you were born in a generation anywhere after millennial, you probably don't know what these things are. Floppy disks are dog shit. These would go into the computer instead of CD-ROMs. Some of them were about this big. Some of them were about this big. I thought this was a college class. I'm talking to you like you're fucking preschoolers. But demo discs, the time frame for demo discs being extremely popular were really in between the PS1 and the PS2 era. Any time after that was really whenever digital demos started getting popular, because it was easier and more cost effective to just allow the player to download the demo from the store. What's nice about the demo discs is that it came on a physical disc, and you would have multiple games demos. Not only that, but also bonus stuff like videos, trailers, behind the scenes, cheat codes. It really was the only way that you could try out video games apart from going to a GameStop or an EB Games or a McDonald's. Not only did demos allow you to play some of your favorite games before they were fully released, some of them were time capsules into early development access for these games too. Some of these demos are very different from the actual physical full releases. I love a good nostalgia dump, and this is basically going to be one for me. At least it's not a trauma dump. Honestly, I could talk for hours on that and probably be an easier video to make, but I'll keep that between my therapist and I. Seeing as though we're far removed from these discs being spoon-fed to us, I wanted to show, and in some cases for you guys, remind you of how cool and charming these things really were. Starting with the PS2. In specific, the PlayStation Underground Jam Pack Winter 2001 disc.
Hey gang!
Now, if you've ever seen this thing, you were raised right. Let me tell you, I spent countless hours on this disc. And yeah, there's only a handful of demos or so on this, but I played through them multiple times. I spent so much time with SSX Tricky. I spent so much time with Dynasty Warriors 3. And my favorite on the disc and my first my first taste of this series, Final Fantasy X. As far back as I can think, this is the first time I had ever played a JRPG. And while I didn't know it at the time,
this would be the seed that would be planted into my little psyche that would turn into a giant weeb tree.
Hearing To Xanarkin for the first time was insane. I don't think I had ever played a game before then where the music actually touched me and I didn't realize it. Unless we're counting Tony Hawk's Pro Skater soundtracks, that shit just rocks, man. But playing through it for the first time and playing through it again as review for this video, the ending scene where Auron grabs you is very emotionally powerful. But seeing the end screen where it says thank you for playing and Yuna's on it and the game over music is playing, I think that may have been my sexual awakening. Was that it? I've thought about this a lot. The entire soundtrack, and not only just for Final Fantasy X, but for all Final Fantasy games, is really good. Now I fully understand why one of my favorite bands in the world, Periphery, has a song dedicated to the composer. Something I didn't remember, which was weird for me because it's one of my favorite series ever, was having a demo for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. So I was actually pretty excited to get a reminder of how an early version of a game that I spent so many hours playing was. It's not playable. It's just a video. I hate it here. Well, that's why I don't remember. I never, ever liked having non-playable demos on a demo disc. I understand for promotion's sake, yes, it's good to have that and have a preview of something that's coming out. But the fact that it was right there and I couldn't play it pissed me off. Like, it just says PlayStation 2 demos and videos, but it doesn't tell you which one is a video. Oh, Baldur's Gate is on here. Huh. The second one we're going to take a look at for the PS2 is one that I vaguely remember having. Really, the only two that I remember playing on this disc were Sly Cooper and THPS4, or Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4. And that's literally next year's Winter Jam Pack, 2002. This also had everything Winter 2001 had in terms of categories like cool moves and download station, but also had a section called PlayStation Peripherals, which was just advertising extra things you could buy to upgrade your PS2, like the stand because you need it on its side, or the multi-tap to remind you that you don't have enough friends to necessitate said multi-tap. That last one was me. I saw that this game had Wild Arms 3, and like I said, I didn't play many JRPGs in that time because I never really cared to, but when I saw it was on there, I figured I would give it a try. Not much else to really say about that one since it annoyed me because I couldn't play Wild Arms 3, so let's move on to the next one, shall we? Literally, one more year. 2003 Winter PlayStation Underground Jam Pack, 2003 Winter Underground PlayStation. That's what I did. We're running with it. In the set that I had bought for these demo discs, Winter 2003 came with it. I had never played it, so this is a new experience for me. I figured, why not give it a go and see what I missed out on all these years? However, when I put the disc in, I was met with some trouble. Now, I'm no stranger to a disc not reading the first few times, but it just, for some reason, didn't want to read again. I had tested the disc out initially when I received it, and it worked just fine, so when I went to go record the footage for it, for some reason it just wasn't working. Now the PS2 that I was also recording this on, I bought from Japan modded, so it plays both NTSC region PS2 games and NTSCJ PS1 games. So I had to do some finagling. What I didn't know was that I had to do something so drastic, something that I'd never had to do to a PS2 console ever before, but I flipped it. I put it upside down on the top and I flipped it around and put it upside down so the disc would read. The disc read. I flipped the Once I was finally able to get the disc to work, I was very excited to see what sort of expansive menu there was, only to be very disappointed. No menu showing categories, no extras, not even an FMV jump scaring me with some humanoid-looking character trying to sell me a PS2 DVD remote. Just a screen with the playable demos and a video for the iToy, which I do admit was a pretty good peripheral for its time. Now, as I said before, the PS2 console was the one that I had the most fond memories for and the most time with as a preteen and growing up and all those memories flooding back. But I want to go back further. I want to surpass the 2000s and go back to the early and mid 90s, whenever I was literally not even conceived yet. When the likes of Third Eye Blind, Savage Garden, and Mark Morrison graced us with their presence on the Billboard charts. When the EAS first blew our ears out with the most annoying sound in the world. And when Kate Winslet graced us with her Necklace, and Titanic. Let's first take a dive into waters that I have yet to explore, the Dreamcast demo discs. Let me start by saying, as a child, I'd never owned this console. I really only got a Dreamcast for the first time in 2014, and then I had to sell that console, and then I bought it again from a friend from high school. I would play it at a friend's house whenever I was a kid, but not frequently. Probably because that kid was a piece of shit, but that's fine. Definitely not enough to have fond memories, let alone memories of playing the console. And definitely not enough to know what demo discs look like. So I thought this would be a perfect time to try out some demo discs from arguably one of my favorite consoles. Especially whenever I was a child thinking this console was way more powerful than the PlayStation, which it wasn't. I lied to myself as a kid. I was also thinking, wow, this console's gonna have some crazy demo discs. If PS1 had awesome demo discs, I can only imagine what these ones. The first time I played these, I cannot begin to explain the absolute draining feeling I had when I didn't see some weird FMV sequence. There was nothing. You literally start the demo disc and it shows you the covers of these demo discs, and then it just goes to the list. Like, it was just demos. It was just demos. There wasn't anything promoting some sort of peripheral like a VMU. Nothing else. Demos, maybe videos, and then it also had the Sega Dreamcast web browser. Was there anything else? This first one includes full version of Sega Swirl game. Oh, I'm sold. I don't know if I got footage of the Sega Swirl game, but if I did, here it is. It's bad. It's bad. It's just a shitty puzzle game. That's all it is. Take this with a grain of salt because I only have 2 Dreamcast demo discs. There could easily be tens, I was gonna say hundreds, but probably tens. This console didn't last very long. Of other demo discs that may have this stuff, that may be chock full of shit. I did order a third. I ordered a third, but it actually never came. The seller said he dropped it off, and it just never came. I do have footage of it here that I'm just gonna take from some YouTube channel. This one specifically, and just show you and see if there's anything different. And I swear, if this guy who did not ship me this robbed me of something so awesome, I'm gonna be so mad. Okay, like seeing this, I'm not that upset. This motherfucker robbed me of titties. What a piece of shit. Okay, I need to pick me up. And I think I know exactly what to do. Moving on to our final, yet arguably most jam-packed. Get it? Jam-packed? Like jam-packed? Like the underground jam. The PlayStation one. We're looking at the PS one now. Now that I am a mature man with a mature job and a mature apartment and all around really really mature, I can afford the $20 that I just spent on the original PlayStation Underground disc. And let me tell you right now, the $20 that I spent on this, so worth it. This volume, the first of its kind, like the PS2 jam packs, was full of shit. Demos, downloads, behind the scenes, sneak peeks, everything. I was able to spend a decent amount of time playing this one since there was so much to explore, especially since this was all new to me. As a child, I'd never owned the PlayStation Underground discs because you basically had to be an upper middle class family to subscribe to this shit. One thing that I didn't find out until about much later than I'd like to admit is that these discs had secrets, like hidden game demos, secret game previews, and this one specifically, hidden music videos. One that I found pretty easily by inputting R1, L1, R2, and L2 on the second disc. By doing this, you're graced by the music video for probably the most horny song of the 90s, Pony by Genuine. Now we're into the final stretch here. There's only 2 more discs, and these 2 I do remember playing as a kid. Much later than whenever they were released, but I did own them, and I had a lot of fun playing them. The penultimate disc for today's video is the Pizza Hut Demo Disc series, specifically Volume 4. When Pizza Hut wasn't a shell of its former self and had the best salad bar on the planet, fight me. Fight me. That's a real thing. I will die on that hill, fight me. They had multiple contests where you could win cash or PlayStation prizes. With that chance, you'd receive a demo disc for the PS1. This disc was released as a promotion where you'd receive a scratch-off to win said prizes, and also a disc with demos of titles like Tomb Raider 3, Metal Gear Solid, and my favorite, Medieval. I remember having a blast roaming around as Sir Daniel and not knowing what the fuck I was doing. I specifically remember in my head running around with what I thought was a plunger, only to remember as I was replaying these that it was an arm. Before we get into the last disc, while I had access to all of these relatively easily, there's a whole nother section of these demo discs that I didn't have access to, and that's the PAL region. I don't have a console that can play PAL games, but I can at least watch videos on them. But I wanted to stay true, at least in the nostalgia dump factor of this video. There's not a lot that I can really say about PAL region demo discs, but that doesn't mean that others like you don't have fond memories of PAL specific demo discs. One in particular is volume 42 of the UK PlayStation magazine. We did also have that here, but I, again, wasn't really subscribed to it, so I never really got them. What's memorable for a lot of people for this one specifically is the 40-ish minute demo of Metal Gear Solid. Really long for it being a demo. Also had playable Net Your Rose demos, which us in the United States were never really exposed to because Net Your Rose was a specific PS1 console that you had to buy as a development kit, where you could develop indie games. And demos for Net Your Rose games were on there. As somebody who'd never played it, how can you really take my word for it? Take the word of somebody who actually has played it. Sean?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Thanks, Sean. Now, as I was playing the PlayStation demo disc, I still had fond memories of another demo disc that I'd played, but I couldn't remember the name of it, nor could I remember really what it looked like. All I really remembered were that the demos were in little boxes, and as you scrolled to select them, they would spin around. And I did remember playing it a little bit later and finding out if you hit one of the trigger buttons, it spun and it gave you a combination to put in for a demo or a hidden video or something like that. But I could not for the life of me figure it out until it clicked. The final disc of the video is the one that I have the most fond memories of in the PS1 era. And that's Interactive CD Sampler Disc Volume 4. Doesn't really roll off the tongue, does it? While playing this, all of my childhood memories came flooding back. I remember the soundscape and soundtrack of Treasures of the Deep, being told to pull up in Ace Combat 2, and not having a fucking clue what I was doing in Armored Core. Playing through this again also reminded me of where I found one of my all-time favorite games. Kind of a weird one, but I want to highlight it here. You play as a guy who is essentially stranded on a platform and boxes are hurling towards you. You have to eliminate those boxes by highlighting the squares on the platform. It's a puzzle game that has a very eerie vibe to it, which only made me attracted to it more. I don't know why creepy things attracted me, but it did. If you saw my Japan video, this is where I got it. I got this in Japan. I also didn't know they made a sequel that only came out in Japan. So, hey, if you want me to play this on stream, another shameless self-promotion right here in the middle. That's my Twitch channel. Go follow me on Twitch. Let me know in the comments if you want me to play these. I knew whenever I was going to record this, I was going to have a full-blown nostalgia trip and I was going to enjoy it so much. But I had to wait until the end because this was the last disc of the lot that I had gotten. It wouldn't have been if the first one worked. I had to order it twice. Why? Because I cheaped out on the first one. The first one that I ordered did not have tested in the description, but the photos that I had gotten of it, the back of the disc looked pretty okay. It looked like it potentially was resurfaced, maybe. The issue is that I didn't see the pressure crack in the middle of the data ring, so this is rendered useless. So I had to wait. But when I finally played it, I was happy, and I was pretty excited about the nostalgia trip that I just went down. And honestly, playing through all of these games again and for the first time gave me enough of a nostalgia trip to be satisfied. And I'm gonna miss them. While vinyl and cassettes and things of that physical media sort do have a resurgence now, I highly doubt that we're gonna get a resurgence of demo discs, seeing as though that major consoles are probably gonna be going digital only in the foreseeable future. Also because nobody subscribes to magazines anymore, and it's very costly to make a demo disc for every single magazine that comes out every month for anybody really. It's just not cost effective for companies. And we know how companies are. As a collector of things that I enjoy, I value having something to actually hold in my hands. Don't make the joke, Paul. I sadly believe that we'll never see that resurgence. Physical demo discs will be lost to time, but never forgotten. Huge thank you to Sean Johnson for being a part of the video. If you haven't yet, go in the description down below or at here on YouTube. He makes mostly videos on obscure PS1 games from Japan, things like that. He's also delved into the Dreamcast games that are really, really well done and really well edited. So show him some love over there. And thank you to channels like Thunder THR, and thank you to Nakey Jakey for making videos on demo discs and preserving this long lost art form. It's art. And to you, if you're still here, huge thank you to you. Hope you enjoyed the video. I really hope you did. If you're still here after all of this, then I would assume you did. If you did, press like. It helps a lot. What helps even more is subscribing. So hit the subscribe button. It should have just did a little thing down there. Like if I say hit subscribe or subscribe to the channel, it should like highlight that button there, down there. Yeah, click that. If you haven't yet, if you already have, don't click it, please. Please don't click it. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.